Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments, where we disrupt the way you think so you can rewire your mindset, rebuild your life, and redefine what's possible. And on Mindset Mastery Moments, we believe hugely in the entrepreneurial mindset. What does it really take to win in life? And when we talk about entrepreneurial mindset, we're not only talking about business owners, but of course, that too. Today's guest is rewriting the rules of entrepreneurship. She is a mom of two, a computer engineering graduate from the University of Waterloo, and a full-stack developer who coded an entire SaaS platform from scratch with no technical co-founder, no venture capitalist funding, and no safety net. She is the bootstrapped founder of Eventist, a revolutionary software platform disrupting the fitness tech industry by serving the underserved. Unlike billion-dollar competitors charging studios $200 to $800 a month, Ciara flipped the model and only charges 1.9% of ticket sales, meaning her 38 plus studio clients only pay when they make money. And she didn't stop there. Her platform includes free website hosting and design, making professional tools accessible to women-led studios that big tech often ignores. What sets her apart is not just her grit, but her unconventional journey. She is a non-dancer who learned to dance just to understand the market she served, and a founder bold enough to admit her struggles while still building something extraordinary. Oh, you all are going to love her. Now, let me put this in perspective. Women make up about 40% of entrepreneurs in the USA, but less than 2% of venture capital funding goes to female founders. Yeah, I know. Don't feel bad for us because we are kicking back. Yeah, women-led businesses generate 1.9 trillion annually. I said 1.9 trillion. Kiara's story is proof that when women innovate, they don't just participate in the market. They transform it. I'm going to say they disrupt it. Please welcome Ciara Azam. Kiara, we are so excited to learn from you at Mindset Master Moments. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I think I might need to hire you. You make me sound so good. Oh my goodness. Usually I talk to when people ask what I do, I'm like, oh yeah, I have a software platform. It does ticketing. And that's it. That's my pitch.
That is the coder in you, but you're also an amazing human and a transformative entrepreneurial leading lady. Kiara, in your own world, you tell me, you just say you're the software lady. In your own words, who are you, what you do, and tell us exactly why you do it.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a software developer mostly because of the ease of the job. So as an electrical engineer, which is what I was working as before switching to software, I briefly was an electrical engineer and it was long hours and they also pay you less. So my boss was saying, when I told him I was leaving to go to software, he was saying, why are all of the good electrical engineers going? I'm like, well, they're offering me double the money for less hours. So I guess offer me more. I don't know. So I switched over to software and I really like it. It's kind of like Legos and puzzles for adults. I kind of look at all as engineering as that. You're problem solving, you're building stuff. It really is an art form, I find. Like there's physical art where you can see it, but then you can also make art in how cool you can build something, whether that's software or machines. And and then I lost my job during after the pandemic, honestly, but they were letting go of a bunch of people in tech, and the company I worked for let go of my the whole Canadian division just got fired, myself included. And I wasn't seeing it coming because I was working. I guess you could say I knew I was doing a good job. And I was also working on crucial parts of the system. So in my mind, I'm like, well, they might let people go, but not me, because someone has to do my job, right? And then they let me go, and I was shocked, honestly. And then my friend asked me to go out for lunch, and she said, I have this great app idea, which Usually app ideas aren't great and you have to listen to it. But in this case, it was a really good one. She said right now they're using gymnastics software or judging stuff on pen and paper when people go to dance competitions. And obviously, gymnastics software is not made for dance, so it doesn't work well. So she said, can you build something better? Or just something that works, to which I'm like, okay, well, like that's a really low bar. And so yes, I can build you something. So I built her like a software for running dance competitions. And then from there, people started using it and they started really liking it. Can you make it do all these things? And then suddenly it ballooned from like a smallish scale software just for her to like and then here we are. Yes.
Right. I love that. And also, I've been reading about your journey and of course listening to some other conversations you've had, and I love your bold honesty. Even when you say you'd rather people see where you've struggled than pretend you have it all together, which is something I completely align with. Let's start there. Where does that level of realness truly comes from behind everything that you've been able to accomplish so far in your life?
I think it comes from probably the people that I'm surrounded by. So I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of engineers, and there are some very, like, I guess you could say cocky engineers where they're very full
Mm,
of themselves, things like that. But in general, if you surround yourself with like kind, honest people, when you see dishonesty in the world, it really bugs you. So for me, especially actually since starting Eventist, when I started looking into marketing,
yeah.
I just refuse to market while lying or while withholding parts of the truth. Like it bugs me so much. And then you meet all these salesy people all the time that are like, "Oh, you should charge more, or you should do this, or you should do that." And to me, what I've started telling them is, if I'm a multimillionaire, I'm either charging too much or I'm not paying my employees enough. And that's my take. And hopefully I'm able. And they say, "Oh, your mind will change." Hopefully not. We'll see. Maybe I'll be, maybe they're like money changes people, but I hope that we can stay down the track of let's just build something good for people. And, and also it's fun. I get to sit at home and make cool software that makes me happy. And I get to take my time. I get to choose what I build. So I kind of figure I'm living the dream. And if we can help people at the same time, that's awesome. But in general, when people suggest something that in your gut feels wrong, I just immediately reject it. So I don't even consider it. I'm like, no, that feels sleazy. No, thank you. And yeah.
Yes, I love that mindset, and it's the same I approached. I wished if I didn't have to, um, put out a coaching program. My goal was always about which organizations can I use to give talent and the content and the message and the lessons and the training that I have. Can I partner so that this can meet as many people? How many schools? How many colleges? That's always been my mindset, still is. So when you talk about that marketing that just tries to get rich quick. Like every time you open up social media, are you a coach making less than 20,000 a month or less than 50,000? And I'm like, the more that's said, the more I'm like, there's gotta be a better way. And I guess for me, what I had to learn, like you, a better way for me, because my consciousness is how many people can I truly impact and influence that they know who they are, know their purpose, really truly heal from things that are setting them back as quickly as possible, move on and make impact, influence, and income. Also, I believe that income is not only in dollars. It's that income in peace, income in joy, income in abundance. Like you said, I have the freedom to work at my leisure. I have my children and I can be time. I have to make flexibility to be there. And what we have forgotten, and I feel like we're talking about it more and more in the podcast here in season 3 as we get ready to launch the new episodes for season 3, is how we forget that as humans, our basic needs
Yeah.
are food, clothing, shelter, to be interconnected, know that I'm seen, heard, and that I matter, and to leave something behind or to make a difference in the world and the community. No one ever says when they're young that I want to grow up and they don't just say, I want to be rich or make a multi-million dollars or have a nice car. They always say, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say, I want to be a teacher or I want to be a software developer. Why? So I can help people. And they talk about solving a problem, right? And very few people I've heard to say make a lot of money. And
Yeah.
then I say, why do you want to make a lot of money? So I can help my mom get a new house because the house we live in a little apartment, and I hear things. It's always to solve a problem for people. But the human heart and soul generally is just right where yours is. It's just that, like you said, like you've been told, people lose their way. And what I've heard from people who've made multi-million dollar platforms is and I've interviewed a lot of them in this show, is they've made so much money and it costs so much money to market and keep that going and so many hands that people did not know that they were literally broke, even though their business was generating millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that cost them their sleep, their peace, some of their health, some of their relationships. And it's not because they were a business person, it's the nature
Yeah.
of the beast. And so what they decided was to step away from that way of doing business to come back and help people understand that it starts with you and who you are. Because when you make that money, who you are is what is multiplied, and the mess you're in is multiplied. And now you have a bigger thing to work on. Work on it in later days. What do you have to say to all that, Kiara?
So the first bit about happiness, I would say I agree wholeheartedly. It's really easy when you're running a business to put everything into it and put other things aside, but you kind of have to like you'll get bottlenecks in the business, whether it's like, oh, okay, we need better support, like we can't onboard this many people. So sure, you can come up with a plan to solve the problems, but in the meantime, it's very okay to say, you know what, we're just going to pause onboarding new people. And
Right.
sure, we might lose some people, but it's just not worth your happiness. Like nothing is worth time with your kids. Nothing is worth, even just time to relax. So it's kind of like you just kind of go slowly, grow slowly, and be okay that people will leave. Also, be okay saying no to people when they have ridiculous requests. Like it's so easy early on to say
Mhm.
yes to everything because you're like, oh, there might not be another customer after this. Okay, then there's no customer after that. But like you shouldn't be building something that you don't believe in or doing
Yeah.
something that you don't believe in just for
Yeah.
this one person. And if there is no other customer, then it's just not meant to be. So I would say like get super okay saying no to people and get super okay with when you hit problems, just tackling them slowly. And in the meantime, you might have to say no to people. In terms of marketing, we actually don't really market just because the competitors, like for example, Eventbrite charges like 5% plus $2 Canadian roughly per ticket sold. So they charge so much money, but they also spend literal thousands of dollars per day on marketing. So I'm not in a place where I could even compete. Like I literally cannot market against them because I don't have that amount of money to throw out the window towards marketing. So
Yeah.
instead it's just going to have to grow slowly through word of mouth, through organic marketing, things like that. Yeah, and the way you'll hit people is that I do believe we have a better product and it's much cheaper. And that's where I go with that is just kind of be okay if you're not the best. Like, that like to me if I see an ad that says, "Oh, are you a coach that makes under 50,000?" Instead of feeling bad, you should feel like, "You know what? Yeah, I am a coach that makes under 50,000 and I'm okay with that. I'm going to grow
Right.
at my own pace and like that doesn't mean I'm bad, that doesn't mean I'm doing a bad job, that doesn't mean anything negative about you as a human. It could be
Yes.
that you're just starting out, it could be that you have a really niche market. It could be so many different reasons, but that doesn't make you less valuable. It's totally okay to be a coach that makes a couple $1,000s a year on the side. Like that doesn't make you a bad coach."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you're learning and you're growing, but you're not sacrificing your soul. And when I say soul, I'm saying what brings you peace and joy in your life, it's not worth it. I I don't want to tell you I've done it, but I've tried to go faster than what would have been normal for me, not in competition with anybody. I guess the passion and the desire. And what would I say? I sacrificed way too much, way too quickly. And that's when I was like, and that was unhealthy for me. And so I believe you can do that. And so Kira, there's so many leaders that feel the pressure to perform and be perfect. And it sounds like you are intentionally dismantling that narrative along while building and growing your, I would say, heart-centered, soul-centered brand. Was there a turning point where you decided, I'd rather be authentic than impressive?
No, I think it was from the get-go. So we actually spent like 2, almost 3 years building it before we had a single user. So just behind the
Oh,
scenes, really building it well, nicely. Because in software, a lot of the times companies will really push developers. They push you to release new things. They push you to get to what they call an MVP, so minimum viable product. And the
mm,
issue is that you have to build it really well from the beginning so that it scales well. So we put a ton of thought into databases and how are we going to store things. We don't use the cloud. We actually rent out our server. So we own the server and then we rent out rack space. And it
um,
saves like for reference, we pay 120 USD per year to run Eventist. And we have quite a bit of load on the server. To be fair, we don't process images or video, but
okay.
if we were running that same thing on AWS or other cloud services, it would be like thousands per month. So we did things like set that up. That took time. It took, like we had to actually go through and set it up. So we just did things really, really slowly, but really well. So now it can scale well. And some people will say, wow, you're able to add features so quickly. Like we'll get a feature request and we can turn
Uh,
around usually pretty quickly. And I'm like, it's because it's well built. Like this is what well-built software looks like. So I wanted to build it from the get-go really well. And I just kind of accept that we might never take over Eventbrite. We might never be the biggest ticketing software in the world. And that's okay because I will have my family. I will have other things going on and I will be happy regardless of how much or how little we grow. And if it just crashes and burns, I just go back to regular development. I don't know.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so the thing is, you're doing something that you're believing in the way that you want it to be done. And that is the beauty of entrepreneurship. That is I have a marching band, um, around is what is your idea? What are you passionate about? And can you over time make that something that you get to do every day? Right. And how many lives can you change? Because believe it or not, the simplicity of your platform and what it does, like you talk about, was being gymnasts were using it for dance, or it was the other way around. Tell us about that. And so you solved the problem, and that's what money is, a reward for solving a problem. But you're also there, like you said, I built something really solid, really great from the get go, to where if there was something I didn't add that they need, they can. And then you went into the world of what your customers are actually doing so you can experience it. Tell us the story behind the build out and making sure that your niche is served properly when you first started.
Yeah, so I guess that's actually kind of a more technical question. I will answer as simply as I can think of. But usually when you're building software, you kind of want to consider what is it going to do? And you have like the big scale. So obviously for ticketing, we're buying and selling tickets, but then you have to think things like I would say one of the toughest things that you can build would be something like Netflix, like a streaming service, because they're
Mm,
handling so much video data. So they have
uh-huh.
to really think about how they're going to handle all of that. Where is it going to get stored? How are you going to do everything, keep track of everything? It's quite a bit. But in our case, there's no video and there's no image, but we do have complex scheduling and calendars, and Google Calendar just doesn't cut it. So one of the first things we did was we built out an entire new scheduling system. Okay, how are we going to handle when something, because we can do bookings, as in if I want to book a meeting with you, I can see your availability, I can book it. But I can also book a class with you where you put your classes out and I book that. And you can
Wow.
also do competitions with judges, and you can assign judges to different rooms, and it gets everyone where they need to be. But inherently that means we need to keep track of where everyone needs to be when, and it has to be done efficiently. And you also don't want to save anything. I want it to be so that if I drag and drop something, it saves initially right away. So you
Yes.
kind of consider all these, and then you want to look at technologies that will meet those needs. So what kind of database do you want to use? What kind of, languages and different like tech stacks that will suit that need. And that, I guess, I don't know, you kind of have to read up a little on that part. But look into the different pros and cons of everything and find a good system. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start building. And when you set up a database, it's kind of like you can think of it as, okay, we're going to store some stuff over here, some stuff over here, some stuff over here. And they're in little tables,
Yeah.
is what they're called. So you have tables in your database, but eventually you're going to try to build something and it's going to get nasty in the sense of you're going to try to add in a feature and you're going to go, the tables don't, like I have one piece over here, one piece over here, and it doesn't fit well together. The answer when you get to that point is start over. Actually rip apart your structure and rebuild it into something that works. And then once you have a setup that works for like 6 months where you're not having to like overhaul everything, then you probably have, it's called your schema. You have a good schema. And then that way, when people ask for like new features, I'm like, okay, well, our database is set up super well to do the things we need. So we can add new stuff in really easily. And we don't have to go query like all these different, like do like jumping all over the place just to get the data that you need. Yeah.
Yes. So I love that. I believe it or not, there's so many young people around my community that are working in this space. So that concept and mindset is so important just because I have a little bit of technology. I ain't going to be over here saying Dr. Lisa, but my journey of entrepreneurship has brought me into the space where because I'm not trying to do all the crazy marketing because I didn't come in. I'm like you, bootstrapped, right? Everything comes from what I have and I build from there. So, like in the beginning, I had to figure out building websites and all that stuff. So, even now, when I have people working for me and with me, they're like, you are such a terror because I'll be like asking them to do something and make something work. And in their mind, they're like, that I don't see how I can do that. Like, why? And that's because they're a little bit younger, but just my experience, I've been able to see what's possible. And I guess because I don't have their language, I learned it from just figuring it out. I'm not able to communicate that. So then I'll go do it. They're like, you know what? You are just such a BA. You really just kick butt. How did you do that and do that so quickly? But I believe that language and the mindset is really big. The mindset, it was like, you're like, look, don't go back and try to keep making it better. Just dismantle, restart. And I think a lot of people in general, and this is something that is equivalent into life. It is a life story that most of us are so afraid to start over. And I can definitely see in tech where people, like I outsourced a website a few weeks ago that I needed to be rebuilt. And I gave them very specific instructions about what I want and where I want it. They had their form to complete and things. And I said, do not make reference to my old website. Do not. And I knew by God's grace, I should have taken down that website. Guess what they did, Kiara? They went back and they pulled mostly from my website. So 2 weeks later, they're presenting me. And I'm like, I told you guys, my brand is so different from where I was a few years. I'm so much more focused. This is when I'm focused. I've also launched my speaking career way bigger the last few years. I just haven't put it on. That website is not a place for you to work off of. I want something different. I think it's sample. But again, when they had the opportunity to correct it, Kiara, you know what they did? They did not want to start over from scratch and follow what I initially gave them. They tried to build on what they had. And I know what they did, lost a customer. Because I am not going to sit there with you a second time and tell you what I told you the very first time, the second time, and now a third time. I said, you know what? Thank you so much. You guys don't work for me. Bye-bye. Because they did not want to start from scratch. And so I'm sitting on a call yesterday saying, hey, Dr. Whyte, we are going to go back and start it from scratch. I'm like, that's what I asked you to do the second time you got it wrong. And I'm sorry. I try now because I'm a 3 strikes, you're out, third time's a charm type person. And I've had to change that for the efficiency of my work and my business and the impact I'm working on making. So no, you've got your 3 times and that's it. You got to go. Obviously, this is not the relationship. And I'm not mad. They're doing well. Trust me, it is a huge company that's actually doing well, but they're do well for people who probably are just starting out. And that's okay. And I told them, I was like, you're not going to get a bad review from me. I'm not going to go out there and I'm not going to give you a review, obviously, because I'm not going to lie, but you don't get a bad review. It just wasn't a fit. Your way of building and doing is not a fit, or maybe your tech,
Yeah.
the person wasn't good, and that's fine. But it's not a bad thing. It just
Yeah.
didn't work out, But they want my money on repeat because the maintenance, the cloud
Yeah.
space, all that stuff. Again, that's the mindset that now this person who's sitting in front of me, that's not the tech person who messed up. His job is sales. So he has to try to save that sale. And this is the stuff and the mindset that you are overcoming in your company. As I listen to you talk on other platforms, you're like, no, I'm not causing Eventbrite.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's because people think that we're bigger than we are. So people, when they're like, "Oh, how are you competing with them?" I'm like, "I don't think you realize they're like thousands of times bigger than us." Like, I don't think they care. I don't think they know we exist, but maybe one day. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah.
I think it's because we see the greatness behind the platform and we see the greatness in you and your mindset as an entrepreneur, as a creator. We know, uh, here, I'm telling you, we know that it's only a matter of time, right?
Hopefully.
When we listen to Starbucks, and I tell people, do not, and this is the biggest thing. I just did an entrepreneurial challenge. And my thing to anyone who's taking it is remember, it's always where you start and you stay consistent and you grow consistently and you expand consistently over time, what that looks like for you. And, Schwartz, Mr. Schwartz or Schultz, I think his name is, that started Starbucks. He did not know he was going to have Starbucks. He only started off by selling coffee grinding products and coffee beans. And today we have Starbucks, right? So like if I didn't read that, I would never know that's what he started and that he did not at that time even have Starbucks in his
Yeah.
peripheral or in his future. He didn't think or see it, right? But he grew because he was consistently selling in a small space and providing service to a small group of people
Hmm.
in a small neighborhood. Same thing with Oprah Winfrey. She just wanted to
Yeah.
be a journalist and stepped in the space. And today it's the Oprah Winfrey Network, right? So I
Yeah.
I feel like we can see it because the clarity and the consistency and the quality is unmatched in what you're doing. And
Thank
so the ethics is also there. And that's for sustainable growth because I actually was an bright person. And about 2 years ago, I switched to, gosh, what was it? Ticket Taylor, Ticket
Yeah.
Taylor, right? And they're a much smaller company and their fees are much smaller. And
Yeah.
for me mostly I run on a nonprofit type, what I'm doing a lot of free, big webinars and stuff across the globe. And I'm charging people who can afford me, but I'm also serving people who can't. So those tickets are free. So when Eventbrite is like, oh yeah, you got to pay me that much money to even use the platform, I'm like, sure, that works, but that doesn't work for me. So I went to Ticket Taylor and I told every company across the globe. And so anyone who was doing free events was able to get that space for free. But then when they were doing ticketed events, they pay way less than what you would pay
Hmm.
Eventbrite. And that's thousands of us. So I'm like, there's always room. And so some people just don't know because even bigger businesses like to spend less money on their marketing if they can once they get
Yeah.
quality. So watch out, girl. So let's talk about your business and mindset, right? You built Eventist as bootstrap founder. And so that sometimes for most people, just hearing it sounds mission impossible. No venture capital, no giant founding rounds. Instead, you created a model where students only pay when they succeed, right? What
Hmm.
mindset does it take to go against the grain and say, I'm going to do this differently? Kind of walk us through your thinking about that and where does it come from? And how does that really become a thing that sustains what you do?
So I'm gonna start by insulting VCs a little bit. And if you're a VC listening, don't take it personally. It's not you. It's just everyone else around you. But I've
This
worked
was
as a
that's around you. Yeah.
most of my friends are developers, and I've just seen time and time again where VCs, I don't want to say that they're the problem, but they just don't understand what it takes to make good software. So they just push and push and push, where you say, okay, this is going to take me whatever 3 months to build properly, and then they're always saying, oh, can you do it quicker? No, if a developer is telling you it's going to take 3 months, maybe ask them why. Maybe try to understand why they think there's a better way. But if they're saying, no, we need to rebuild this section, like really try to consider it. And most don't. So then what you end up with is the software gets harder and harder to maintain. It gets slower, it gets more expensive in terms of like cloud fees, and it's just bad. So
Mm.
intrinsically, when my friend Emily asked me to build this, I'm like, I'm going to build it with like, I'm not going to get any kind of funding whatsoever because I don't want someone telling me how to build software if they're not a developer themselves. Obviously, I'm actually, I'd say I'm a meh developer. I'm not great, but I'm not bad. But people on my team are great developers. So if you're a great developer and you have an opinion on how something should be built, 100%. If you're a non-developer and you have an opinion on how the software would be easier to use, 100% let us know what you want to see, but don't tell me how you want me to build it. You can say what you want built, but like if you're not a developer, don't try to police how it's getting built. If you don't know what you're talking about, you should kind of look at the experts in that topic on how to actually build something. So that's why I'm very against getting funding whatsoever, just because I don't want strings attached, essentially. And that's a
Yeah.
personal choice. Like there would be cases where a VC could be great if you have like physical products, or if you have one, like if you have a team of developers and you already have that like main section built, then maybe you might get additional funding for like marketing, things like that. Like it might not be bad for everyone, but for, like I said, for me, I didn't want someone telling me what to do unless they're a better developer than I am. Then you can boss me around all you want. Yeah.
Yes. And I've always, I think that is something that someone who's listening can glean from, because it puts on their plate the pros and the cons of having a VC involved in your
Yeah.
process. And that is something that personally I have considered and understand, and that sometimes is what takes a little bit longer to build, but I feel like it gives you the time to build a quality product if that's what you're building, especially with what you're making. Even though I don't have a physical product, I provide services, I'm still leery of having someone else involved, because whoever puts the money in controls the payday and controls the
Exactly.
process, right? And so a lot of, again, that's the other thing with a lot of people that are out there doing all kinds of crazy stuff for marketing. I mean, please, I don't want to offend anybody. If you're dancing in your TikTok videos and stuff and that's working for you, go for it. But for me, it will be crazy because I can't even dance. So if I try to do a thing like that, it would look weird. It would just probably like, what the heck? So I can't dance. So I won't try it. But you now have to do all this stuff because you got to pay back someone a few $100,000 or millions.
Yeah.
And so now your perception, your true desire of what you intended to build has all these other voices in it, because
Yeah.
it's not just the investor, it's all the other things. And so if you are not prepared and you don't understand that you're going to bring it comes with that money that will get you to maybe, I don't know, faster, but they're controlling it. And then also they ask for a percentage.
Yes.
I have a group of people that we started a company to respond to some of the damages caused by hurricane and all that. And so we created a company and negotiated to get cement in places and things like that. And this is all part of humanitarian, but it's huge profit margin in it. Overall, not so much for us to make a whole bunch of money, but there is a profit margin. And so as we walk through the space of getting investors into our business, it was like they want 80%. They want 50% of the profit. And I'm like, well, when they ask for that much, now we have to crank up the prices
Mhm.
that we're offering. And so number one, it brings us right back with competitors. And it also puts the people that we're wanting to serve, we have to tap on the price
Yeah.
to those people. And so they're not really getting a better product at a lower price,
Yeah,
which is
for
what
sure.
we wanted.
Yeah.
So,
It's
so
like
that's the mindset. Go ahead, Kira.
I find every VC I've spoken to about it, that's where it ends up happening, where like the net result is that they want to increase pricing. And I'm like, that's not the point. Also, the other downside is if you do have external funding, some of it you don't have to pay back. They just give you the money in exchange for a cut of the company. So you might not
Right.
have to worry about giving it back, but then you have to worry about pleasing this person. So, like we were saying earlier about being happy, I'm okay if things go more slowly and I spend time with kids. But if there's someone else, like, who has a say in the matter. Now I suddenly have to make this other person happy. And that's just personally not something I'd want to do.
Right.
But yes, I mean, obviously, there are tons of companies that have been very successful with VC funding. It's
Right.
not necessarily bad. It was just not for me. And I personally am very tainted because I've worked under a lot of companies with VCs and I've never had a single positive experience. So,
Right. I've worked in the non-profit space for so long with huge companies. And the thing as a middle manager and somewhat of a senior manager is always, and our partners and our funders, it's like, so you guys are out here saying we're serving the population's most vulnerable. But this process, this way of doing it does not meet these people and it does not meet what we say we're here for. And the only thing we get to think about is our funders and our partners. Yes, because they're the hand that rock the cradle. They're the ones who put in the money. And I understand it, but I guess I don't understand it. But here's what that second understand means. It does not really, it's outside of my value system, right? So
yes.
these
And
are things, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say this was actually advice that my mom gave me when I had a kid, and I've just found it applies to everything. It's like
Uh-huh.
the best advice. And she just said, there's many ways to do the right thing. So don't worry about what other people are doing. Find what's right for you and do it. And in this case, she was talking about kids. She's like, all of your friends, they all turned out okay. And they were all raised very differently, but they turned out
Yes.
okay. So
Yes.
clearly, there's many ways to do the right things. So when someone is telling you how they do things, don't think of it as,
That's
oh,
the
that
right
like I
way.
should do this or that, XYZ. Just think about, oh, they're telling me what's right for them. And then
Right.
consider whether that might be right for you. And if it's not, don't feel bad about it because there's so many ways to do the right thing. Yeah,
That is life-changing advice. And as an entrepreneur, that's the thing that you're up against every step of the way. Whether you're making products, you're making cookies, you're providing a service, that will be a guiding light. And that's what this conversation really is about. And I couldn't wait to talk with you, Kiara. And I'm saying that what I was taught, they give it to me in the Caribbean. There's many ways to skin a cat. Right. I mean, that's the American way of saying, but we say that they say in Caribbean, there's many ways of choking a dog. I'm like, we don't want to skin a cat. We don't want to choke a dog. But what they were trying to tell us is what your mom told you is there's so many ways to get to things and understand this is the way. I think one of the first things I've like 2025 has been my year of understanding that's good for you. This is good for me. Like truly getting
exactly.
it and being an observer and being in curiosity about what's
Mhm.
working. What we're doing is putting on your plate and let you know, look for all the information, weigh the pros and cons up against your value systems, your beliefs, your wants, needs, and desires. And once you stay true to that as your North Star, you're not going to drown in this process of being an entrepreneur. Can we agree
For
that's
sure.
what we're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 100%. And like in terms of right and wrong, in entrepreneurship, you can make wrong decisions or decisions that lose money, things like that. But then I would very much look at it in the sense of when you do make a wrong decision, at the time you made the best decision with the information you had. So it was right at the time and you can't go back. You just kind of learn from it and go. And I would go so far as to say, you know what, rather than try to do one right thing, just kind of do like what I've been doing with Eventist is kind of you were talking about TikTok dances. I dance on my Instagram,
Yeah.
but
But you even went to train for
yeah,
it so you can get in this system of
I
what
did.
your customers do. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Tell us about
yeah,
that
I've been
too.
throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. So that way when you frame it that way, you're not feeling like you're failing. It's more so like you're going into it going, "Hey, I think this might work. Let's see." And then that way if it
Good.
fails, you're like, "Okay, we tried it and it failed." And you don't feel bad about it rather than thinking
Right.
like, I'm going to do this because this is the best way to market or this is the best way to do it. It's like, no, you know
Might
what? We're
not be
just
for
going to
you.
try out a bunch of different things and see what sticks. And the things that fail, we're not going to, don't
We're not
sweat
going to
it. Like,
repeat.
yeah,
Yeah. But the learning is in the doing, and
yeah,
that's the whole thing about entrepreneurship. And I honestly don't know that I would even call it throwing it against the wall because you're not. You're really intentional about what you're doing, but it might not bring the best results. And so
there
once you
was some stuff that I threw against the wall that fell off.
but you learn that truly, and I feel like that's the bread and butter of entrepreneurial mindset is like I'm willing to try things and even throw things And it didn't stick. Misfire. I don't call it a
Oh,
mistake. I call it a misfire. And I'm like, oh, well,
we
that didn't
lost
work.
about a third of our followers because of a single post. It was so bad because most of our followers are Latin American dancers. Because again, it started in the dance space, and it
Uh-huh.
didn't occur to me, they're highly Catholic or Christian. And there's this one guy in
Well,
Waterloo who very much looks a little bit like Jesus. And we made a Mambo Jesus post where he's like a salsa Jesus. And it upset so many people. And they all left. And I was like, well, I guess we'll leave it up now. All the people who didn't like it are gone. So it is what it
yeah, it
is.
couldn't be offensive anymore. They're gone. And
Yeah.
that's the stuff you never know. Like, I'm pretty sure that there sometimes people are just not happy about what I say on the podcast because they thought of me of one way. Like, I know I've lost followers on my social media because on my podcast, what I talk about doesn't seem so Christian-y enough. And so they're not happy with where my brand is. And I'm like, this has always been me. You just don't know me. You had a perception of who you think I am. On the podcast, you get a little bit more into me because I'm here talking to people for an hour. You're going to hear my ideas. And honestly, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. I'm not
Yeah.
mad. I'm just like, okay, find your tribe, find your people. I'm living my life on my terms and in my authenticity, and I'm not perfect. I'm growing. So even if I can have this opinion today, and tomorrow I'm like, you know what? I was not. I'm not even going to say I was wrong about it. I'm going to be like, well, my opinion changed and here's where I'm going. But that's just part of the business. But yeah, we tried different things and they don't stick. Like for me, what was I doing before? Like I had fulfillment Fridays where I used to talk for about 15, 20 minutes Friday and posted all of my social media. That was not doing anything. No one was listening to me. I was boring. I was talking. It's a monologue. It's cute. I looked cute, but you weren't getting this side of me where I'm so real. And so when I started the podcast, I'm like, what do you mean I'm a top 1%? It's only me talking. What is a top 1%? You know what I'm saying? Like who are these people who want to hear me talk for 20 minutes? Like I didn't think so many people would be fine with it, but that's what stuck. And here I am. I get to meet amazing people from around the world every week, several of you, and I am growing and the audience is growing and we're all growing together. Again, you never know what's going to work. Like I didn't think the podcast was going to be a big hit. I knew it was going to do something. I hoped that one person every week would get a transformation, would get a shift from it. That was my goal. Like one person would reach out and let me know, hey, this really helped me. And the stories are so remarkable and the growth is so remarkable. So yeah, it's bigger than what I thought, but it worked. That's entrepreneurship. Here's the thing, Kiara, you are doing all this and you're raising 2 kids. That's no small feat. How did you learn to make your life efficient so you could actually still have time for them?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to write a book about this one
And
day.
you should, and
Um,
come back and let us talk about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Not many people ask me about my kids, honestly. Okay, so the first thing I do is I own all black socks and they all own black socks. So you never have to match a sock. And if you lose a sock, it doesn't matter because they're all the same. So you just throw them in a bucket and that saves time. The next one I do is I own all solid color tops and bottoms so that it'll match. And then I don't fold it because most clothes nowadays don't need to be ironed. Like they're not going to wrinkle.
Yes.
I just have a bucket on the floor for like my shirts, my pants, the kids' shirts, their pants. And then I just sort it. And my oldest one is 4. He can sort. So can the younger one. Like they're not incapable. So then you make it a game. You're like, it's laundry time. Laundry's done. I'm like, okay, sort it. And then they pick it up. They're like, oh, is this mama's shirt? Yes. And then they put it into my bucket and they love it. So I don't know. For those of you with no kids, you're like, oh, laundry's not that big. But when you have kids, there's a lot of laundry. So that
Yes.
saves a ton of time right there. The other one I would say is if you can, and not everyone can, but if you can, hire someone to do like the deep cleaning, even like once every 2 weeks, like the showers, the bathtubs, things like that, so that you don't have to. That saves a ton of time. And then the third one that I do is I cook with them. So that way they're not off doing something else. They're cooking with me. And both
And
of
you're
them from
spending it's
from the
quality
time they could
time.
walk, I just let them burn themselves and then they never do it again because everyone's like, "Oh, I'm worried they're gonna cut themselves." I'm like, "Then let them cut themselves." I give them a knife, they cut themselves and they're like I'm like, "The knife is sharp." And they're like, "Okay." And then they cut themselves and I'm like, "Yep, the knife is sharp." And then they never do it again. So rather than constantly being worried, I just and same thing with burn. I'm like, "The pan is hot." And then they touch it and I'm like, "Yep, the pan is hot." And they're like, "Oh, it's hot." I'm like, "Yeah."
Whoa.
So just kind of doing things together and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else in terms of, oh, I don't put my kids in pajamas. I put them to bed in their clothes for their next day. And then that way in the morning, we just wake up and go, oh, yeah, like, there's just like how to parent, like anything that doesn't have to happen just doesn't happen. And that gives me the time to do stuff with the kids. But then also
Yeah.
separately, I rock climb. Like that's a sport that I quite like. And
Mhm.
a gym membership for a whole family is like $170 a month. We all go together. They climb, I climb. The gym I go to also has a weightlifting gym inside the climbing gym and a yoga studio. So you can kind of like go, everyone gets a workout and everyone's having fun and everyone's spending time together. So I find that was a great, those are like the things that I do where we're spending time together and kind of like achieving multiple goals at the same time.
Yes,
So,
a lot of language development and interdependence,
yeah,
independence,
the growth
mindset.
motor, yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
is the
yes.
climbing. Yeah.
Yes. All these
So,
things are included in that park. Such a brilliant, you're absolutely right. There's a whole book inside of you for the
for
feminine
efficient
entrepreneur.
parenting.
Yes, for vision parent, when I bootstrapped your business. I
Yeah.
don't know. My creative brain is going to how many ways this can go. And I'm like, I do want to have for in season 3 here to record a series for women who are entrepreneurs, the ones who are single and navigating dating, and then the entrepreneurial woman who's working, navigating being a mother and
Yeah.
or a mother and a wife, and just have these different breakouts of women powerhouse entrepreneur for 20 the for women's history month, March, and have this whole thing set up. So you got to come back.
Okay.
I'm going to give you
Okay.
plenty of time so you can come back and we'll do it. We'll have like a panel and all these tips and stuff are coming, but you should write that book and make that a part of the work
Oh,
because that's
I
the
was
thing.
joking, but I
No,
might make
I'm
maybe just like a checklist
yeah,
of like,
I'm
here's the
behind you.
things that you do.
Yeah. It's a conversation because that's the magic behind what you're able to do. There's so many women out there who don't have the confidence and they have all this limiting beliefs of how am I going to ever get time to code anything? I got these 2 kids. How am
Yeah.
I going to be able to do that? I got 2 kids, a husband, I got 4 kids and a husband, and I got this job. This conference, I realized there's a whole niche of people who want to do more and get to doing the things that they
Yeah.
actually love, but the limiting beliefs are so much. And so
Yeah.
when they see that you've done it, Kiara, it's exactly what they
Yeah.
needed to get the
Well,
permission. And then you have a how to.
it's like there's so many people that also where I tell them like some people ask me because like they see me at climbing, they see me like all over the place. They're like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "I literally just don't do anything unless it's necessary." And they're like, "Oh, but I have to fold my clothes." And I'm like, "Okay, and maybe that's right for you and that's awesome, but like maybe consider if you act like do you have to fold your clothes? Do you?
Right.
Cuz that's like hours of time per week that you're just spending folding things that you just then unfold to put on. And
Yeah.
things like I use one plate, one bowl, one spoon, one fork, same thing for the kids and then I hand wash them cuz
Yes,
then
I hand wash.
and one pot and then you never get like behind on dishes cuz
Right.
if you like make a rule of it, then every time you have to eat, if your bowl is dirty, you got to go clean it.
And you
And
taught the
then,
kids how
yeah.
to do the same too, right? So I'm sure the
No, like
4-year-old is like,
they
well, yet,
try,
not
but
yet,
I wash their stuff for
because
them
they're
because
not
when
doing it clean yet.
they're like, "It's clean." I'm like, that is not, you're
But
incorrect."
by the time he's 6 or 7,
Yeah.
he's got it. I remember us doing that with my niece and nephew, and I would be like, "My
Yeah.
God." But you know what? We let them do it, and then we went and redid it. It's just weird,
Yes.
but at least they knew that they needed to wash their dishes after, but that didn't I mean, now they're 14 and 11. They can actually wash dishes. 3 years ago, it was gross. But
Yeah.
we tried. We tried. So you just hit something so, so powerful. One of the other things that you talk about and you open very clear about is not fearing failure, not letting rejection define you. And I think our listeners need to hear this. How do you keep going when no one comes or when something does not work the first time? Like we were talking about, you said you're throwing stuff and it just didn't work, but you're not afraid to keep going. How do you keep that? What's that mindset?
Yeah, so in general, I look at rejection or failure is not a bad thing. They actually did a study. I don't know if you've heard this one, but they had two groups doing pottery. And the first group, they said, I want you to make the best pot possible. And the second group, they said, I want you to make as many as possible. And in the group where they made as many as possible had the best pot. So these other people were trying to make this one perfect pot, and the other group had a bunch of other ones that just happened to be like they ended up making so many pots that they just got really good at making pots, so you can kind of look at
Oh,
all those bad pots as failures, but yeah, just kind of try stuff and be okay if it fails, because that's what's helping you to one day have a success. And
right.
there's a little cartoon somewhere on the internet called What Step Have I Reached Today? And basically the steps to learning something new is can't do it. I want to do it. How do I do it? I'm doing it. It's done. So if something feels
Oh,
scary, any new thing, yeah, no, like every human is born with no knowledge, right? Like you're born
yeah,
like a wrinkly red angry raisin, and then you grow from there. So like if you want to learn something new, just do it. Just start, okay, I want to learn this. What would that look like for me? How am I going to
yeah.
find the time? And then you just do it. And eventually it'll be
Mm.
done. And through that, you will have failures. But that's the only way that you can achieve success. Otherwise, you're just going to stay where you are forever. Yeah.
I love it. You got it. I'm gonna shoot you a message to send me that video so I can see it. I'm pretty sure I'm all into it.
Oh,
Wow.
the cartoon?
Yes, I want to
Yeah.
see it because I feel like I'm definitely going to psychoanalyze it down and or something. So I love it. So you just hit something so powerful, and that for me that's true self confidence. I'd love to hear your take. What does true self confidence mean to you, and how do you cultivate it while you're also admitting you're still a work in progress? How do you
Yeah.
maintain that self confidence and still make progress at the same time?
I think the best analogy is actually for like physical appearance, because everyone can relate to it. So when it comes to confidence, you don't have to believe that you're the most beautiful person in the room to feel confident. You just have to believe that your presence in the room is more valuable than what you look like. That's all you need to believe to feel
Ooh.
confident in a room, is just to believe that you have value there. And that can translate to other skills as well. Like you can have value in so many different ways. So if you're there, your value can be learning from someone else. Your value can be asking questions. Your value can be, like in this case, I guess I would be like the person giving knowledge to your listeners. I don't know. So like I'm providing value in that way, but everyone has value. So it's just about finding that value, and then you go into the room knowing that that's your value. So I would say lack of confidence goes in when you're going into a room. So if you're going into a room full of really rich people and you're not rich and you feel not confident, you're
Yeah.
probably thinking, wow, I'm so much like you're just thinking about how much less you are compared to them.
Yes.
Whereas you can go, yeah, you know what? I have less money, but I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to try to make them smile. I'm going to do these other things. And then you go in with that knowledge that, yeah, I am less than them in these ways. That doesn't mean I'm a lesser person overall. And then you just kind of know your value in that room. And then you can feel confident in that. You don't have to be the best at, and no one's the best at anything. Just like
No
accept
one.
that. Everyone sucks at
Yes.
everything.
And, there's always someone who's gonna do it way better and faster, and they're gonna be cuter while they're doing it, all that other
Yeah,
stuff, if you're counting. There is. We're just
exactly.
gonna let you know. You'll find them if you're looking for, "I'm the best looking," or whatever, you're gonna have a million reasons to think you're not. So just
Yeah.
don't even worry about it from now. I
Well,
love
especially with
that's great.
appearance. It's very, very appearance is very subjective too. So it's just kinda just accept that your value in a room, you're valuable just being there, and your appearance is secondary, tertiary. It's
To the
kind of
reason.
irrelevant. Yeah,
Yes, to your va it really is. It really is subjective because things change so quickly in gravity, just a
yeah,
lot of stuff. I look at and listen to some people, and I look at them on the internet, I'm like, "There's gonna be a whole lot of Botox because and still, gravity is going to have its way with you." I just wonder what are they gonna be when they grow up? How are they gonna feel about themselves when they don't have this to go with,
yeah.
like, this stuff, like, that's something to I always wonder, I'm always curious about. Let's go to Flip the Script. It's where we ask our guests to tell us about a time when you flipped your own script of your mindset and what shift completely and how did it change the game for you?
When we started doing competitions, I figured, you know what, I'm going to attend competitions and compete in them to see what the experience is like. And that way I can kind of build software well. Cause I know at that point, it's one thing to hear we struggle with XYZ. It's another thing to live through XYZ and see how poor the system is. So I
Uh-huh.
attended a salsa competition and I trained, and now I'm attending an arm wrestling competition that we're hosting in November. And so it's just kind of as new sports want us to use them. And then after that, it's competitive jump rope next year. So
Oh,
I just go
wow.
through and I've been learning new sports and posting it. And that's where I guess it really helps with the failure. It helps with the feeling confident in the level that you're at. Like I came dead last in the dance competition. I'm going to come dead last in arm wrestling. I hope I don't break an arm. And it's just going to be, do your best. And then that way you kind of like one, people like it for engagement. That's if I'd be lying if I said that's I'm doing it for like other reasons, sure, but mostly it's for the engagement. They like seeing me try, like as a software developer, learning new things. That's kind of like the trope, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, but in terms of like flipping things around, it gives you like you get to learn new things, which has been really fun. You get to show people that you can learn new things, and I'm posting it online. So like if I can learn a new thing that I suck at and post it, you can do it privately in your home. And
Right.
hopefully, that's where we're I don't know
Growing.
what to call it
Yeah,
really,
because
but
you learn so much when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position. And it's the biggest thing is you learn so much about yourself and that you really it's like, why did I never think, and then you start to also see people differently. You get to connect with new people. There's just so
yeah.
much when you put yourself in it on because I feel like life happens outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. And I think honestly, one of the great things, the dancers were so kind. And I was going to this competition and you have all these different studios there and they will like cheer for their own studio. And at that point, because I competed like later in the competition, they had all met me at the booth. They had all chatted with me. They all knew I was competing. I came dead last and everyone in the room was cheering for me. And it
Cheering
was
for
so
you.
nice. It was so nice, and they were so kind, even though I came last. They were so, so kind, and yeah, it was really cool to see that I think they really liked that I was learning their sport. I'm not just building software for them, like I'm in it with them. And we'll see
Yes.
if the same is true for arm wrestling, but I think it would be, like especially not to like go into stereotypes, but a lot of the women that arm wrestle have like, like the biker jackets and the tattoos and stuff. So I'm going to be this like little developer girl going into arm wrestle. So I'm hopeful that
And
they'll
they're
be
like,
supportive, but
what are you doing? I'm like, okay, let's protect her. But they're going to value the fact that you wanted to see inside the world. And they're
yeah.
always, people are so excited to show an outsider
Yes.
what it is they do and why they love what they do and all the cool things about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I am a workforce strategist who has been working in the construction industry. And when I say construction, from residential to commercial to industrial construction, and then also more of anything that's skill based jobs. And the excitement for them to have someone, who's a business professional, who's, just come in and learn. And I get to learn so much. And they're often surprised how quickly I can learn. And I'm surprised how quickly I can learn. But the value that we all have for each other and the excitement to welcome each other to the other side of the world is just it's just beautiful and a reflection of what the beauty of being a human and the human
Yeah.
spirit. So that's, to me, that's, you can't, that's priceless.
Yeah.
That's priceless. So we have to ask Kiara, what does success mean to you now beyond revenue and of course milestones?
Success to me, this is like everyone says it, but I think success is whatever makes you happy. Like you only have one life on earth. So you might as well find what makes you happy, and that can be anything. I think money helps be happy. Like they've done studies on that. If you're dirt poor, money is going to help increase happiness because You don't have to worry about buying food. You don't have to worry about rent, things like that. But after a certain point, it doesn't significantly increase happiness. So, what that means is if you have all of your base needs covered, you should find what makes you happy outside of making money. So, look at if you
Got
don't
it.
like your job, what kind of job could I have where I would be happier and still make enough money? Things like that. Family activities. I'm a big fan of do one fun thing every day. So whether that's like
Mm,
what for me, it can be, oh, I'm going to go rock climbing. I have one day where I just have a bath after the kids go to bed. Like I go and I have a bath and I eat snacks in the bath and that makes me happy. And like you just find something that you can look forward to every single day of the week. So that can be
yes,
sports, it can be activities, whatever it is for you. Cause then if you're having a bad day, you at least have one fun thing to look forward to that day, you know?
exactly.
And
Yes.
and if you have that, then I'd say you're very successful. I don't know. Yeah.
Perfect. Finally, what's the next big thing for you? What kind of mindset will it require for you to get there?
I think the next big thing is in terms of software, we're building out like a system for scheduling where you can have configurable blocks of time. So you can
Mm,
like have recurring classes within blocks. And then what that would allow is studio owners would be able to run their regular classes, summer camps, March break camps, things like that all concurrently. And they can just like easily add blocks, but it's not an easy ad. So we've been working on it for a little bit and maybe like another month and then we'll have it launched. And that's like pretty big. I'm pretty hyped for it. Yeah.
exactly. Well, congratulations on that. So, what kind of
Thank you.
mindset do you think you're going to need to ensure that you get that launch and launch it the way you wanted to? How did you see yourself getting from the idea all the way out to the end where so many people are
Yeah.
just grasping and gleaming to it?
So I think it comes down to, like I said, take your time and think about things. So we were getting people where they were asking, hey, can you do camps through the system? Where I say, like, yeah, you can, but you have to like set up this whole other thing. And then you're just doing it for like 1 week of camp. So it's a lot of setup for 1 week of camp. And then also your checkout is then like not nice, like it's you end up with like one checkout for March break and one for the rest of the stuff. And I just want one
Ah,
unified checkout. Like all students can just go to one place to book the things that they need. So then we got to thinking, okay, well, how can we do this? Like here are all the
and
requests we
how
have
can
coming
I?
in or the
Yeah.
frustrations. What can we do? Like what's a design that we can have to make it super clear and easy for the user that they can just set up arbitrary stuff. And to me, I like arbitrary a lot. I like drag and drop
Yeah.
a lot on the front end
Yeah.
where you can just drag and drop things into a calendar, move them around. But rather than have like a separate camp section where you can like add in camps, I like the idea of just having the ability to arbitrarily add whatever you want and denote how long you want it to go. Do you want it to be 1 week, 10 weeks if it's the summer, or do you want it to be ongoing indefinitely? And then within that block, you can like schedule the things that you want people to purchase. So that's where we kind of added on and we have like a nice like interface for that. But I think that kind of goes with any kind of problem for like technical rather than look at it as one problem. I want to find one solution. I kind of group the problems into similar areas like, oh, people are struggling with all of these similar things. Can we find a solution that will tackle these and just make it easier for everyone? And I think too many software companies do the opposite where they're like, okay, we need to add in support for March break camps. And it's like, yes, but is there a way to do it where you're not just making like a tiny little change for everything? Because now they have to go to all these different places to add in stuff. You want it to be in
Right.
one central place.
One
Yeah,
central place. It's the how can
exactly.
I call it the how can I mindset. Instead of shutting it down or shutting it out or just dropping it in, how can I make this? And that's really being solution oriented. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And I think it's applicable to everything in life before you do it. I love it. I just love your mindset. And you also, I'm holding on to the one. We were just talking about this last night is it necessary? I don't do things that are not necessary. You were taught to do a bunch of things and that certain things have to be a certain way to be a certain way. And a lot of those are not really holding true
No,
in your current
you
life.
can
That's why
save
life
so
is
much
not working
time.
for you. Yeah, life
No.
is not working for you. Exactly. My goodness. So, Kiara, we're at Mindset Bites to Go where I step away from the microphone and the camera, and you have about 90 seconds to share, a mindset trick, hack, or something you can leave our listeners and viewers with that you would want them to take away from you, regardless of what after the show is over. Here you go.
Yeah, so the biggest tip that I would have for you guys is I really think everyone should go out and actively try to fail. So, what that means is once a week, go try a new activity, try a new skill, and actively don't like try to fail. Obviously, do your best at it, but try something that you think you're going to fail at. And then, one step further, go tell your friends and family about it. Because over time, what this will do is it'll desensitize you to failure. So the first time might be really scary. Let's say you're going to go try playing volleyball and you suck and you've never played. You go, you play. And then after you fail, you're going to feel really bad the first time and you're not going to want to go back. But go tell your friends and family about it. You know, they'll either give you encouraging words or whatever. Just talk about it because that helps. And then the next week, go back or try something new. And over time, you just stop caring when you fail. And that really helps you because as we discussed before, you have to fail a lot to get to success. And you have to always be open to the idea that what you're doing currently is not the best way. So that means that right now, if someone came up to me and said, hey, you're doing XYZ poorly in your software, I would listen and I'd be open to the idea that what I've done right now is, I guess you could consider a failure and I'd be willing to fix it. And I'm not going to feel emotionally bad about it because it's the best CEOs don't feel emotionally attached too much to their companies. So it's about becoming emotionally dissociated from failure. Yeah.
Hey, that was awesome. That is great, great, great advice. So, Kiara, everyone's wanting to know, how do they connect with you and learn more about Eventist? Where do we connect? What's your favorite way? And I know that you also have a freebie that you're offering to our listeners and viewers. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so the best place to reach me would be on Instagram, eventist.ca, eventist.ca. That's the same as our website. So if you want to go to our website, it's also eventist.ca. And then on there, if you message me the word mindset, I will set you guys up with 6 months of free use on the ticketing software up to 10,000 tickets. So if you're running like let's say you run Burning Man, I'm sorry, we can't just run Burning Man for you for free. But if you're running like a reasonable event for 6 months or a studio, whatever it is, you'll get 6 months free. And that includes we have free help sessions whenever you want. So we actually help you set up everything. Eventist.ca/onboarding help, onboarding-help. You can go anytime, book a call with us, and we will hop on the call to walk you through whatever you're stuck with. And then separately from that, we have a marketing suite, which I have mentioned. I'm very open about it. It is a white label of Go High Level that we're integrated with. But if you're looking for Go High Level for a cheaper monthly price, it's $49 a month, and we give you 3 months free through Eventist. If you're interested, just message the word mindset. And then if you're using it for the ticketing and the marketing, we are integrated. So our data passes back and forth between the two. So you can use both simultaneously. Yep.
Wow, that is so huge. That is the Go High Level conversation alone and you get all the great things that she's creative and she put that in there. I better tell your friends and tell your mama to get in here because I have Go High Level and it costs me a whole lot more. So if you have an opportunity, and it's a really great tool, I still, after a year and a half, I don't think I've even scratched the surface. I have I have an assistant that works specifically with my Go High Level, and I told her to take it slow with me. Just let me tell her what I want to do all the tech stuff and not tell me all that it can do yet. I'm not ready because it's a lot. So that's exciting that you add that in to your platform because it's a really great combo.
People asked me to build marketing stuff for one of the bigger competitions that we run. And I'll only build something if I think I can build it better than what exists. But Go High Level is pretty good. So instead, we just pay a massive monthly amount to be able to give away cheaper sub accounts to people. Yeah.
I love that you're doing that messages.
Yep.
So this sounds like a solution base. So we definitely are going to work on getting the word out here because I feel it solved the problems, not just for the organizations, but for parents. Like this is what a lot of people might not see. It might look like just a solution for the organizations that put together these sports, but I feel like it's also a big solution for the families that are in the sport. And so it's a problem that's being solved for two groups of people that have already a lot to deal with. Yeah. So we want to get the word out here in the Arizona market as well. So Kiara, thank you so much for showing us what it means. And listen, disruptors, and that all is in the description where you're watching and listening to this. So Kiara, thank you so much for showing us what it means to be bold and beautifully real. Your story proves that women entrepreneurs don't just compete. We create new lanes and we bust out doing really great, impactful, life-transforming business. And disruptors, the stats may say less than 2% of venture funding goes to women, but women like Kiara remind us that no statistic can stop determination. So you all keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do become. I'm Dr. Alisa with my co-host Kiara today saying we'll see you on the next episode, and she will be back for Mindset Master Moments. Over and out. Bye now.